Hello, and welcome to the DoodleCast. We're celebrating what I'm going to call WeAreDenver Day. So we have in with us, just like last week, somebody from the crew. We have Samson.
Hi.
Hey, Samson.
How's it going?
So you guys might know him from Nothing Explained, and from the fact that he keeps everything running smooth throughout the day.
That's a rumor.
It's just a rumor.
As smooth as it can be, right?
But who is Samson beyond that?
Beyond the guy who keeps things running smooth, allegedly?
Yeah.
I'm a maker. I make stuff. All of my doodling is in a computer, making 3D models.
Oh, so you know your way around vector graphics, eh?
Yeah, totally.
Oh. The time savers.
The time savers. Yes, I like to describe life in equations rather than in physical analog lines and dots.
Ooh.
Are we drawing anything specific today?
Oh, absolutely not.
No, that does not matter?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're all using the same paper, though. It's going to come together.
They're going to bleed into each other?
Yeah. It's like a team doodle.
Yeah.
You know?
And hey, guys, it's Kat, as per usual.
Yeah, Cat's in.
All right. I'm glad you guys brought chopsticks because this is my stuff.
The one chopstick. Okay, I wanted to start, as always, or as usually, lately, with a short story, just to get, kind of a topic going or just something to talk about. This one's pretty short. It's called The Game of Blood and Dust by my favorite author, Roger Zelazny. What a shock. And nobody knows about him, but that's why I keep drilling him into people's heads.
We met a guy that's named after a Roger Zelazny character, though.
That was really cool. I was, way too stoked about meeting that guy. I think he got weirded out.
Yeah.
He was like, I've never met anyone else that's, not my dad's age that knows what I was named after. I was like, anyway.
So wait, Zelazny was his middle name or something?
No.
His whole name.
He's named after a character in a Zelazny novel. His name was Random, and he's actually a really cool musician. You know Random.
Did I? I feel like if I met a random, I would remember. Although I meet so many randoms.
His real name was actually Random Temple. That's his name, and it's also his band name. I don't know, check him out. We're doing a random plug of Random.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, The Game of Blood and Dust by Roger Zelazny. I am blood, I go first. I am dust, I follow you. They drifted towards the earth, took up stations at its Trojan points. They regarded the world, its 2.5 billions of people, their cities, their devices. After a time, the inhabitant of the forward point spoke. I am satisfied. There was a long pause, then, it will do, said the other, fetching up some strontium 90. Their awareness
90.
meant above the metal. Go ahead, said the one who had brought it. The other insulated it from time, provided antipodal pathways, addressed the inhabitants of the trailing point. Select. That one. The other released the stasis. Simultaneously, they became aware that the first radioactive decay particle emitted fled by way of the opposing path. I acknowledge the loss. Choose. I am dust, said the inhabitant of the forward point. 3 moves apiece. I am blood, answered the other. 3 moves, acknowledged. I choose to go first. I follow you, acknowledged. They removed themselves from the temporal sequence and regarded the history of the world. Then, dust dropped into the Paleolithic and raised and uncovered metal deposits across the south of Europe. Move 1 complete. Blood considered for a timeless time, then moved to the 2nd century BC and induced extensive lesions in the carotids of Marcus Porcius Cato, where he stood in the Roman Senate, moments away from another Carthago delenda est. Move 1 completed. Dust entered the 4th century AD and injected an air bubble into the bloodstream of the sleeping Julius Ambrosius, the Lion of Mithra. Move 2 completed. Blood moved to the 8th century, Damascus, and did the same to Abu Iskafar in the room where he carved curling alphabets from small, hard blocks of wood. Move 2 completed. Dust contemplated the play. Subtle move, that. Thank you. But not good enough, I feel. Observe. Dust moved to the 17th century in England, and, on the morning before the search, removed from his laboratory all traces of the forbidden chemical experiment which had cost Isaac Newton his life. Move 3 completed. Good move. But I think I've got you. Blood dropped to the early 19th century England and disposed of Charles Babbage. Move 3 completed. Both rested, studying the positions. Ready? Said Blood. Yes. They re-entered the sequence of temporality at the point they had departed. It took but an instant. It moved like the cracking of a whip below them. They departed the sequence once more to study the separate effects of their moves now that the general result was known. They observed. The south of Europe flourished. Rome was founded and grew in power several centuries sooner than had previously been the case. Greece was conquered before the flames of Athens burned with its great intensity. With the death of Cato the Elder, the final Punic War was postponed. Carthage also continued to grow, extending her empire far to the east and the south. The death of Julius Ambrosius aborted the Mithraist revival, and Christianity became the state religion of Rome. The Carthaginians spread their power throughout the Middle East. Mithraism was acknowledged as their state religion. The clash did not occur until the 5th century. Carthage itself was destroyed, the westward limits of the empire pushed back to Alexandria. 50 years later, the Pope called for a crusade. These occurred with some regularity for the next century and a quarter, further fragmenting the Carthaginian Empire while sapping the enormous bureaucracy which had grown in Italy. The fighting fell off, ceased, the lines were drawn, an economic depression swept the Mediterranean area.
Oops.
Outlying districts grumbled over taxes and conscription, revolted. The general anarchy which followed the wars of secession settled down into a dark age reminiscent of that in the initial undisturbed sequence. Off in Asia Minor, the printing press was not developed. Stalemate till then, anyway, said Blood. Yes, but look what Newton did. How could you have known? That is the difference between a good player and an inspired player. I saw his potential even when he was fooling around with alchemy. Look what he did for their science, single-handed, everything. Your next move was too late and too weak. Yes, I thought I might still kill their computers by destroying the founder of International Difference Machines Limited. Dust chuckled. That was indeed ironic. Instead of the IDM 120, the Beagle took along a young naturalist named Darwin. Blood glanced along to the end of the sequence where the radioactive dust was scattered across a lifeless globe. But it was not the science that did it, or the religion. Of course not, said Dust. It is all a matter of emphasis. You were lucky. I want a rematch. All right, I will even give you your choice, blood or dust. I'll stick with blood. Very well, winner elects to go first. Excuse me. Dust moved to 2nd century Rome and healed the keratoid lesions which had produced Cato's cerebral hemorrhage. Move 1 completed. Blood entered East Germany in the 16th century and induced identical lesions in the Vatican assassin who had slain Martin Luther. Move 1 completed. You're skipping pretty far along. It is all a matter of emphasis. Truer and truer. Very well. You saved Luther, I will save Babbage. Excuse me. An instant later, Dust had returned. Move 2 completed. Blood studied the playing area with extreme concentration. Then, all right. Blood entered Chevy's Theater on the evening in 1865 when the disgruntled actor had taken a shot at the President of the United States. Delicately altering the course of the bullet in midair, he made it reach its target. Move 2 completed. I believe that you are bluffing, said Dust. You could not have worked out all the ramifications. Wait and see. Dust regarded the area with intense scrutiny. All right then, you killed a president. I'm going to save one, or at least prolong his life somewhat. I want Woodrow Wilson to see that combine of nations founded. Its failure will mean more than if it had never been, and it will fail. Excuse me.
Ooh.
Dust entered the 20th century and did some repair work within the long-jawed man. Move 3 completed. Then I, too, shall save one. Blood entered the century at a farther point and assured the failure of Leon Nozdrev, the man who had assassinated Nikita Khrushchev. Move 3 completed. Ready then? Ready. They re-entered the sequence. The long whip cracked. Radio noises hummed about them. Satellites orbited the world. Highways webbed the continents. Dusty cities held their points of power throughout. Ships clove the seas. Jets slid through the atmosphere. Grass grew. Birds migrated. Fishes nibbled. Blood chuckled. You have to admit it was very close, said Dust. As you were saying, there is a difference between a good player and an inspired player. You were lucky, too. Blood chuckled again. They regarded the world, its 2.5 billions of people, their cities, their devices. After a time, the inhabitant of the forward point spoke. Best 2 out of 3? All right, I am blood, I go first. And I am dust, I follow you. So my question to Nick and Samson, if you were blood and dust, and you had 3 moves each to somehow change the history of humanity, what would you start with? Where would you go? What would you do?
I mean, none of them did the obvious moves.
No, that's what I like about this story.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the obvious moves. It's like very, very subtle things.
I definitely... Do we have to do them in order?
Chronological.
I
know, it's a hard one. It is. It's hard.
I do kind of like the idea of messing up Cato the Elder. That's pretty amazing.
Isn't that a good one? It's a really good one.
Cato the Elder. James K. Polk and Hitler.
It was a classic.
Nobody went for Hitler. That's
Well, that's just like...
Survey says 0.
yeah.
I think that you could probably... I think you get rid of Hitler by getting rid of someone else.
Really? That's
Yeah.
the idea.
I think that's kind of the idea.
You treat him like Voldemort. You're like, we don't even need to name him.
What about you, Samson? Who jumps out in history as someone that you think should go?
Well, I mean, that's like... So I want to change history. I feel like we should go back to the supermarket where the one teller pissed off Lenin and sent him into a spiral that ended up killing millions of people.
That's a good one. Just that one teller.
Yeah, the straw that
Yeah.
broke the camel's back.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah. Those are the best moves, probably,
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
game.
they are.
I have it's fun speculation, but I have my understanding of history is that we probably don't know the people who are actually making a lot of the big moves. You know, so you just get rid of one player and they would just find the next, and you'd be like, wait, that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because I think the people who are doing things in the background would still be in the background. The money would still be in the background. Like,
You have to
what
find
would?
the background people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, something about like the Pope in the 1400s when they declared, worldwide ownership. Essentially, the Vatican became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like what about Aleister Crowley or something, or go back and like spill coffee on his favorite book or something.
That's a good one. Yeah, I always my first one is always like fucking Edison, because I just grew up with a father who like really admires Tesla, and like that was his whole thing. My dad's obsessed with Tesla, so I think that killing Edison would have made way for Tesla to be more successful.
Honestly, though, if I was able to play that game, you know who I would kill first? Myself. What kind of rampaging, history-changing power junkie am I? This is a game where I get my kicks, you know?
Blood and dust aren't human entities.
Yeah.
Like I knew this was a bad idea.
It's fair point, I guess. Jeeb.
If I was a human playing that game, I guess I should
Yeah, right.
clarify.
Blood and dust are like these weird cosmic entities.
Why is it that every Zelazny story could be about robots?
Because,
Dust to dust.
Oh, the dust. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, like the Golden Compass series, like the dust and that.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a really important...
And now I just want to ride a polar bear.
Yeah. But yeah. I think that we probably live in one of the lamest of the alternate realities. But how you can't...
How would you
say
know?
that. I know,
Yeah.
I just really don't like it. But that's just... I think a lot better stuff could have happened.
I just imagine you like at a bus stop and you just turn to the random stranger next to you and you're like, what? How's this reality working out for you? Does it suck for you too, man?
Dude, yeah, I would do that. I'd totally do that.
Can we jump timelines? Do you have a little box in your pocket?
Like, fuck this. I would jump out of this timeline real quick if I ever got the opportunity, like, for sure.
Did you? I've actually done that before, and there's a universe where Trump is an otter.
An otter?
He's not even a man in that universe. He's
What?
just
He cracks the skulls of his enemies on his mighty belly.
his mighty tummy.
I think that an otter's too good for him.
Really?
Life of an otter seems great. I would love to be an otter.
I don't know, man. Prey mammals are. Just because you're cute doesn't mean life is good.
Dude, you get so much good food. Otters are essential parts of ecosystems. I know that, the otters are getting fucked right now, but they're awesome creatures. And I think they live pretty sweet lives.
Yeah. They are
They just
awesome.
get to, like,
They know
float
how to
around
juggle.
and they hold hands, and
They juggle, and
I love otters.
it's one of my favorite, like, viral videos is when you see otters juggling with each other. Have you seen that?
I guess not.
You should-
It's
you should
amazing.
look it up.
They'll like take rocks and they'll like contact juggle them for a little bit, and then they'll start tossing them up. And sometimes they'll like play with each other doing that because it's some skill that apparently they
Otters have.
like developing. Yeah.
Yeah, otters are great. I think that an otter's way too good for Trump. He should be like... Well, I was gonna say like a dung beetle, but I even think that's too good. I think dung beetles are cool, and they're also really essential parts of ecosystems.
Yeah, but they're full of shit.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Why does he get to be a different? Maybe we should just leave him as a human.
And this is why I asked you this morning. I think that Roger Moore should be on that list. I feel like if Roger Moore hadn't have been born, we would have a very different political system, and I think it would be a lot better. And Bush would have never went to office. Trump would have never went to office.
There would never. Well, you can't necessarily say that. There probably still would have been Nixon.
There probably still would have been Nixon.
Yeah.
Well, Roger Moore was born out of the Nixon era.
Yeah.
Wait,
Man, that
so
guy's
what?
evil.
I don't understand the reference. Roger Moore, like, why? Was
He's like
Nixon
the
so
first
pivotal?
guy to like turn lobbying into what it is today. Like he created modern lobbying.
Yeah.
He's not the only one that should be credited with that. He had a couple partners that I don't remember the names, but
Like as like a 23-year-old, he was involved with like Nixon's campaign right around the time of Watergate.
and you know he
And he's
was
not
like
an idiot,
somewhat
but he's,
involved,
like-
but like his name got through the press a lot, so he became like sort of infamous because of the scandal. Even though he was like this total just like background.
He was kind of a
didn't really-
patsy.
Total, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a patsy. But he rode off of it, you know. He
Yeah.
loved the attention, and then it turned him into this like ultra rich lobbyist in what now we consider to be lobbying, which was not like before him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically the poster child of like modern conservative American political racketeering. Because I think that's the most accurate word for it.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, totally.
racketeering.
Yeah, I don't. This whole question about changing the past is like very interesting. Like, because I don't really attach people to events like that. You know?
Yeah.
Because they're just. I don't know. Any one person seems kind of inconsequential.
Yeah. I really don't think it's so though, you know. I think that it's like on the individual level, like the decisions you're making, it really does affect everyone else. I believe that. And I do believe that one person can like change the course of history really dramatically. I mean, like imagine if like Jesus was never a thing, you know? Like we can't even imagine. It's hard to imagine that world because Jesus is such a huge part of the global culture.
Well, and I think what part of it is that we're human, so we attach human value to things. So, like, we can't really relate to the way the Earth shifts itself and moves, or geological time, or the way trees fill forests, you know? That makes no sense to us. But, like, the way humans affect change, it's like, oh, yeah, that's a total human thing, you know?
Or even like you go way back, like if some Neanderthal hadn't fucked this Homo sapien, like you know, we wouldn't be the human species that we
Yeah.
are. Like,
Right?
yeah. And that was an individual decision, like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this thing.
Right? It's like, I want my babies to have your cranial shape.
There's a really good joke on Patton Oswalt's newest special, which is just an astounding special because, like, you know, his wife just tragically, like, was killed, and, you know, it's this year, and he's, like, still doing comedy and still, like, touring and, like, making specials and stuff. Anyway, Patton Oswalt is, like, amazing and so awesome. We watched it last night, and it was like, what?
Whoa.
Really took me aback. He, like, talks about his grief, like, so openly, and then, like, still talks about, like, finding funny shit happen in his day, and, like, I'm like, I cannot imagine being where you are and, like, still being able to laugh at shit. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway. Going on a tangent.
Yeah, that human experience. Does it blind us or does it give us a reference? You know?
I think that's your choice.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it's
You
both.
have the blinders on or you don't.
Yeah. Some people can take them off and put them on, though.
Yeah, I feel like most people can do that. Everyone's
Selective
capable.
blindness.
Yes. Yes.
I'm getting so smudgy over here, guys.
It's that marker. These markers are
I'm
smudgy.
Smudgy the Whale today.
Smudgy?
Smudgy the Whale.
Hey kids, I'm Smudgy the Whale. Oops, sorry about that. Ruined your art.
That's from an alternate reality where Barney didn't exist, and instead, it's smudgy.
It was honestly just a reference for any East Coast people out there.
What's Smudgy, the whale?
Well, it's Fudgy the Whale,
Oh,
but
I'm not too hip on East Coast things. I only went out there one time.
yeah, we'll get you a Carvel cake for your next birthday. And you can know what this is.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't really like cake though.
It's an ice cream cake.
Oh,
And actually, seasonally, I think the one we would get around your birthday would be Fudgy the Whale.
oh, okay. So it's like a seasonal cake with,
Carvel is like the East Coast version of Dairy Queen, but it's not as corporate and horrible. But it is still like a chain kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Learning new things every day.
Every day. Yeah, it's like whenever I do that or make Jonathan Richmond references, people get really confused. Unless I'm like around like a bunch of Bostonians or something, and then they're like, "Hey, oh,
It's fucking wicked.
that's fucking wicked, man."
Hey. Oh. What are you from Boston?
No,
No.
Boston.
Boston.
I love people from Boston though. I love how honest people from Boston are. Everyone I've met from Boston is like brutally honest.
It's like the East Coast West Coast robot thing. I definitely prefer the East Coast robot. Like, you know, like no matter where you go, people are like on autopilot, and it's like a function of the culture. Mm-hmm. And like I have like this weird theory of the East Coast robot. The autopilot on the East Coast, people are like very brusque and like upfront, rude as fuck. But when you actually like get to know these people, they're like, "Hey, I'm a little softy over here. Can I get you some groceries, some onions for your mother?" But then like the West Coast robot, it's like kind of the total opposite. It's like, "Hey, welcome to my house. I'm gonna call the cops in 20 minutes." You know, it's like, what? Like, very, very strange. Like, I don't know, you go to California and it's like every backyard has a pool in certain neighborhoods and people are like very friendly, but then when they get a little dirt on you, they throw it in your face. It's very strange.
I guess that's true.
And people do both of those things no matter where you are, but I think like the general cultural trend, you know, people on the West Coast, and it might honestly just be me projecting it and my perception of it, but like I find people on the East Coast to be like a lot harder to understand and get to know, but once you get to know them, there's some real good people. And I find like people on the West Coast will be like, "This is who I am," and put it in your face, but they're really not that. They're somebody else. I don't know. It's hard to explain, you know? Just those things where it's
Maybe
just like a feeling.
Yeah, I feel that. Maybe like people on the East Coast don't necessarily like, well, I guess it goes for both places. You're not putting yourself really out there. You're like, it's just like your perception of yourself is different, of your outward persona.
Yeah, it's a game of identity politics.
People on the East Coast are definitely more reserved when they're in public. Like, when I was out there, it was weird to me, you know, people just don't say, like, you know, out here, even in Colorado, like, we're very much in the middle, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
There's, like, influences from both coasts. But, like, out here, people will say, like, hi to you on the street, you know? Like, people you don't know, it'll be like, oh, hey!
Yeah.
And you'll be like, hey! And, like, you go on with your day. But, like, that doesn't happen on the East Coast. People are, like, very sort of reserved and within themselves. But then in California, it's, like, the same sort of thing, where it's, like, people will, like, say what up, but you're, like...
Yeah, they're like, hey, how's it going? And then they're like, what the hell?
Yeah, then they'll talk shit about you. That's fun.
Yeah.
I like both the coast, though. I really do like this
people.
country.
Yeah.
I really love this country because we do have, like, so much culture and so much difference. And it's really cool. To some people, that's really cool and beautiful. And then to some people
it's terrifying for some reason.
Terrifying and just, like, you know, hate-filled too. A lot of people in this country definitely don't embrace that aspect of it, which is crazy because that's, like, what the country was founded on.
We already gave you rights, and if we give you more rights, that's taking ours away. What? Huh?
And sometimes I really do feel like it really is like almost like a 50-50 thing. Not necessarily, like, regionally, but, like, as a country, like, we're super, super, super divided.
Yeah, we were, like, talking with one of our friends last night about white Southerners. And the whole thing is like, one of the largest groups of people in the country that does not like black people is so, like, intertwined and, like, part of black culture. And black culture is, like, part of them, even, like, genetically. You know?
Well, yeah, genetically especially.
Yeah. So it's just like, what?
The blackest
Very
white
strange.
people.
Yeah.
Well, and then I was talking, and then that, you know, brought me to, I personally think that when someone hates something, it's because it's a reflection of something in them that they hate about themselves. And so they're obviously going to outwardly hate those things too. But it really is just a reflection of you not accepting every part of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think about it. That's what I think hate is, where it comes from. Like, I think some of the most homophobic people I know are the most gay.
Yeah, being homophobic is gay.
You're like, I grew up in the 90s.
It's just like, it's really revealing to me when someone hates something so much. Like, I immediately am like, it's because part of you is that. Or, you know, you recognize that in yourself and you're hating yourself.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It makes me sad. Because even like what you think are the shitty parts of yourself, you should at least, at the very least, like, acknowledge, you know?
Right.
You don't necessarily have to be happy about them. It's like what makes us human is, like, there are parts of ourselves that we don't like, but you have to acknowledge that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, sometimes people, like, take the part of themselves they don't like and they build it up, too, because they think that they can fix it. When, like, in a lot of cases, you can't. You know? Like, you have to kind of, like, curb it.
Yeah, I guess when you take the parts of yourself you don't like and you build them up, that's like... Maybe
you're ignoring the good parts of yourself.
How, like, psychopathic, kind of sociopathic people are born, I feel.
Yeah. Just like, I can change the way everybody feels about everything.
Inside the mind of a serial killer.
Right. Honestly, I don't think most serial killers are technically sociopaths. Like, honestly, though. Because being a sociopath is, like, this weird, like, control thing. Where, like, you control the dynamics around people to get what you want. Whereas, like, if you're the type of person that's killing people, yeah, you're getting your control fix somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's crossovers. But I think it's really funny because in our culture we equate any sort of psychosis with being a sociopath, which is not necessarily true.
Well, I said sociopathic or psychopathic.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Because I'm a total frickin' psycho. But I don't like playing with people. Because most of us are crazy.
That's very true.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Since we've been talking about how we perceive others, how you perceive yourself with that. What is your craziness or shortcoming? I'll tell you mine too.
I have a tendency to be really negative, which I often try, you know, and I know where it comes from. It comes from like my family. Everyone in my family does this, like thinking of the worst possible thing and convincing yourself that thing is going to happen, and then by convincing yourself it's going to happen, it actually does manifest, you know?
Yeah.
That shit happens to me a lot. Just negative thinking. It's hard for me to break out of it too once I get into it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm like, I've kind of grown out of it, but I used to be like the type of person where my intellect would make me feel like I always had to be the center of attention. Like, always. I don't know, I kind of grew out of it, but that's definitely my, like, shortcoming as a human. I'm like,
Say that again?
I'll let, like, my idea of what things are get out of my control. And I used to, like, definitely, like, almost in a narcissistic way, act out, like, my thoughts. You know, I'm like, well, this is what reality is. Everybody else has to deal with my reality now. Because I'm so objective, you know. But I don't know. It's funny. I've kind of gotten away from that, though.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
I mean, but see, like we were saying, all that stuff always stays with you. I don't think you can really, like, get rid of anything like that. It always stays with you. And you just have to learn to accept it and live with it and, like, try your best to, you know, go against whatever that is.
Or you can blame your parents. I don't know.
Or yeah, exactly. Really, I kind of just blamed my mom a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I'm like, and I totally got it from my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should definitely have my mom on the show sometime.
That'd be cool.
Does your mom do
Scare
any
some
art?
people. No, she's a science person.
She would doodle. Everybody doodles. We've been
doodles,
talking
yeah.
about this a lot. Like, we don't need to have, like, visual artists on the show, or people that consider themselves, like, you know, they do, like, some sort of visual art. Like, just having, like, anyone, because everybody doodles. Like, that's something I've realized, you know? It's a way to express yourself that, like, almost everybody does in some sort of fashion.
Right.
If you put a blank piece of paper in front of somebody, they're going to do something with it, like... And it's usually cool.
Right? And people are always like, I don't like that, but it's like somebody will. You haven't found the person that relates to that image. I have no idea what I'm doodling, by the way, guys.
I mean, I never do. We never do.
Does it look like a glass onion? I don't know.
I like the little
A glass onion.
Does it
Yeah.
look like a glass onion, he says.
It's one of my favorite
I was
metaphors.
just imagining I was playing Pictionary. Glass onion.
Everything I make looks like a cell or some combination of cells and zygotes and shit. Like,
Or
Yeah.
things bugs do.
I was getting the mitochondria thing.
Right.
yeah, hell yeah, that's total. Yeah, it's unintentional. I think maybe it's because one of, like, the first school projects I ever did that I got really into was actually, like, making models of cells.
It's because it's fun. Cells are cool.
Cells are really cool.
And they make patterns usually.
Yet they're, like, super random at the same time, and you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Cells are great.
Well, yeah. Do you know about Brownian motion? It's like a theory, and it's both in math. It's a little different in mathematics, but it's also like part of particle physics too. It's kind of like that, Einstein said God does not play dice. Mm-hmm. It's basically saying, no, the dice are God. You're correct. Like, the whole idea of Brownian motion is that any sort of randomness has a pattern to it that it creates out of itself. So you can actually calculate randomness, which is kind of interesting. Not exactly, though, but pretty close. Yeah. I even think that it has like an application in computer science too, when you get down to an algorithmic basis. It all comes from randomness.
At the end of the day, that's kind of the only way you can do it, right? Because it's the only thing that really kind of it's the only thing in like mathematics that really kind of reflects like chaos that, Right, well, and it's that whole idea that the only constant is change. Mm-hmm. Look at that, K rolling. K always rolls around the block. Sorry, Festy kids, I'm not talking about the powder you like on your baby spoons. You guys make me feel really bad for those middle-aged women that collect baby spoons. Let's just put it that way. Oops, did I just make a drug reference? My bad. Whatever, Jeeb.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, people that like using horse tranquilizers love baby spoons for it. Isn't that weird?
Is it like the silver trust fund spoons?
Yeah.
Just like, those are the only people that can afford the drugs.
Right.
I guess, I mean, I don't really know the price of drugs, honestly. I really have no idea. Couldn't tell ya. It's
one of those deep philosophical questions, like, how many wooks would a woke wake wook? Wait, woke wake if wook could wake wooks.
Alright, it's too, I don't know what you just said.
It's a new tongue twister for the kids these days. I actually learned it from my brother first, which is really funny.
That's really something people say?
Yeah, how many wooks would a woke wake wook if a woke wook could wake wooks?
Man. Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. That makes me really sad for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like where kids are going. I don't like it at all.
Kids these days, bruh.
That's how I feel. It really is how I feel a lot of the time. And I'm constantly with children, so it's just like even more so sometimes. I just,
Yeah, I mean, what would you do if you had access to the technology now?
I don't even know, right? Like, all the kids, I work with first graders, right? They're 6 years old, some of them 7, and it's like, almost all of them have their own freaking tablets, It's like, yeah, my tablet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Like, I don't even have a tablet. Like, you're 6 years old. Why would you ever need something like that? Like,
I have a computer that's going to break, That's the extent of it.
I don't understand it. If I ever have children, I feel like I would just want to raise them off the grid because it's just like...
Throw them in a tree and walk away.
Oh, I understand why people do that shit.
Well...
Not necessarily throw them in a tree and walk away, but, like, I understand why people, like, more and more, like, trying to raise their kids in the wild and shit.
Right.
Like, just out. I totally understand that.
I want to raise myself in the woods, though,
Well, yeah, you're raising everyone in the woods if you're out in the woods.
Yeah. I just want to hang out with Sasquatch.
If you want to see Sasquatch, you can go to East City Ranch.
Yeah.
And
I've heard about this, Samson. I've heard that you know someone that like supposedly personally knows Sasquatch.
But
there's a family of them living on this ranch, and the adults never show their faces, but there's a youth who likes to fuck with people.
What?
Like 8 people have seen him so far.
All right. right.
But aren't those
Where is
trans-dimensional Sasquatches?
They
Yeah,
can,
they all are.
What?
all Sasquatch are trans-dimensional.
They're not Earth beings?
No, they are.
Doesn't
They're
necessarily mean they're not Earth beings, bro.
they can just raise their frequency and phase out.
What?
That's why they're so hard to find.
How do I do that?
Meditate a lot. Like for a couple of lifetimes, probably.
Oh, man.
Do you think that's what the Sasquatch did? They just meditated a lot? Or
I mean, I don't
they were
know.
just born with that ability?
Well,
Like, are they just
that's-
yogis?
That's an interesting question.
Furry
'Cause
yogis?
I don't know. I'm sure they're highly intelligent relative to like the animal kingdom, but
Yeah.
there's something to be said about just being quiet in nature for a very, very long time.
There is something
And
to
the
be said
potential,
for
so.
that. I mean, I'm all about being ready to believe in that kind of shit. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Where the fuck is this ranch? Like, and you know some people personally who are like, yeah, this teenage Sasquatch has visited me and like fucked with me and shit.
Well, I know personally one person who's had like a minor experience with it, like saw it across from a field, but everything else is just people who tell the stories of going there. And well, I've met the guy who runs the ranch personally, and he's seen it a bunch of times. So if I'm to
Yeah.
believe him, then yes, I do know someone. But the best story is this guy Clyde Lewis, who runs a radio internet. He's got a radio show that does like conspiracies and fringe stuff, and he was standing inside the back door of the house, like in what would be like the mud room, you know, with the
Yeah.
laundry room and stuff, whatever. And he turned around and like this thing just like was like sprinting at him and came sliding up to a stop like at the back door, and like looked at him. And he was like, "Holy shit, it's Bigfoot!" And he's like, it kind of looked like it was mad at me for calling it Bigfoot, and then it ran around and ran off.
My feet are average size for my species, good sir.
Oh man,
They're all self-conscious,
it's like you.
right? My big feet.
We went and bought Nick some shoes the other day, and like we were at the shoe store, and there was a guy, oh yeah, which size are you? He's like size 13, and the guy's like, oh, like it was just like this guy got really taken aback by it. It was funny.
Yeah, this might be a little vulgar, but every time I tell people my shoe size, they act like I just whipped my dick out. Like they're like, they're like always like so surprised and shocked by it, and perhaps a little offended. They're like, no, you don't have feet that big.
Yeah, right. Nobody ever believes you.
Yeah.
Because you're not
It's
like 6'6", you know.
Yeah.
You just have cheap clown feet.
Yeah, it's not fair. I
He
trip walking
He
upstairs.
trips walking upstairs like every day.
I can't do stairs.
To get to our
because
apartment,
of
we have to go up like 3 flights of stairs, like every day. Trips.
my messed up body proportions.
Because his feet, like he can only put a certain part of his foot on the stairs themselves, and he like one time you fell out of your shoes. That
Yeah.
was a good one. That was pretty funny.
Yep. I can't wear loafers in public.
I can't even imagine that life because like I wear a size 7 women's, and that's like the normalest size. It's like the size of all the like model shoes even that they put out there, so I can just like take something
Right.
straight from the rack and put it
Yeah,
on
I'm
my
trying to
foot.
think of a woman I've met other than my mother who does not have a size 6.5 to 7.5 foot.
It's everybody's got that size.
Like, it's weird.
My mom and I have the same size feet.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Does that mean you have small feet or your mom has big feet?
My mom has big feet.
Yeah. Like, I think my mom is like a size 9 in men's.
For real?
So she has like
I
pretty...
kind of wish that I could wear men's shoes, honestly. I prefer men's shoes. Like, I prefer
Right?
men's pants as well. Like, solely because of fucking pockets, man.
Yeah, I mean, our shoes are like generally more functional.
Everything.
Like,
the
you
shit
don't-
they
you don't
make for
see-
women is just bullshit.
Yeah.
It infuriates me, honestly.
You don't see dudes wearing flats except for, theater guys wearing Toms.
I mean, I guess we get good, like, patterns. We get
The
cool
closest to
fabrics,
it.
you know?
Yeah.
But we don't get, like, practicality, which is what I'm always about. Like, I could give a shit about the fabric. Like,
See, I'm
put
the
some fucking
opposite.
pockets in it.
I want that lady swag.
I know, you should have been a lady and I should have been a man.
Yeah. This conversation again.
It's happening, I know.
Kat's a gay man on the inside.
Nick's a lesbian on the
Yeah.
inside.
So we pretty much have the same, like, kind of gender bias as a person, but we got dealt the wrong sex card,
Yeah, my mom always wanted a gay son. She like
Same with my mom.
tells me that a lot. Yeah, Mom, I wish I was your gay son too.
Yes, Mom.
Oh man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to write a word, and I have 7 letters. What's a good 7-letter word?
Nicholas.
I'm not gonna write your name.
Greivel. Both of my names have 7 letters.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's not.
Maybe my middle name does too. Yeah, my middle name is 7 letters too.
Wow. You think your parents planned that? I mean, there's.
Probably.
Knowing your parents.
Yeah. Very probably.
Is your brother's like that too? Oh my gosh. I think it is.
Maybe it is. Let me see.
It is. Jackson Coleman. Yeah. It is.
What the fudge muffins?
We should talk to your parents about this.
Oh my god, that's totally a Gus thing.
You
That's
think
probably my dad's input into the naming process. Like
Yeah,
my mom
his dad's a
probably
mathematician,
controlled
so that makes
it,
sense.
but he probably snuck that in there.
It just has to be 777.
Yeah.
That seems, it's weirdly like superstitious for your parents though. And weirdly religious, because like 7 is like the holy number, right? In like Christianity.
Is it?
It is.
What?
That's why there's 7 sacraments.
I thought it was just luck. 7 was the lucky.
No, it's definitely an important number in quite a few religions actually. The numerology thing.
Yeah, I thought in numerology it was like the number of serendipity.
Maybe they just like haikus.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that 757 though? I guess
777.
there are
but
haikus
it
that
could
are
just be a nod, you know?
Yeah.
a nod to
Well,
it.
their whole name can't be haiku, so we'll just put 7 syllables.
Well,
Or they're like, let's just keep the syllables the same. And then
what's
Well, it's not 7 syllables.
crazy
7
though
letters.
is
No,
that
letters.
like my brother is actually named after me. So that's why it's even weirder that we both have like the same number of letters in all 3 of our names. Very eerie.
He is slightly named after you. Coleman
His
means
middle name.
follower of Nicholas.
Yeah.
That's his middle name.
It's very weird.
Slightly weird.
I mean, just because you're into science doesn't mean you're not a spiritual or superstitious person.
That's
You
true.
know?
That is true.
Because I'm pretty superstitious and I like to think I'm somewhat logical. Maybe I'm not, who knows? But,
I think everybody likes to think that they're logical.
that's a logical thing to think.
until they run into logic and then they get angry.
I withdrew from logic when I took it in college. I just couldn't. Yeah, no, logic doesn't connect with me. I wouldn't consider myself a logical person. I'm like, no, I'm pretty chaotic, honestly. Most of what I do doesn't make any sense to me or anyone else. And I accept that.
Yeah, I just make sense out of things and then say it's sense. So I don't know if that's really fair.
I think that's what everybody does, right? That's what most people do.
Yeah.
But you have to somehow try to make sense of things. Usually.
I'm just
I
good at
resist that,
reading
though.
data.
I really don't think anything has to make sense.
I'm
That's
good
why
at,
I'm like okay with
yeah.
believing shit. Like, yeah, there's this ranch where there's Bigfoot. Like, yeah, that's totally plausible to me.
right?
There's a family of them, according to Samson. I believe it.
Can they be my friends and can we interbreed and make the future humans?
Yeah, no, they're not gonna be your friends, Nick. I'm sorry. It seems like where they live, they're barely friends with the dude that lives there too. You know. They might be like the last family of Bigfoots, you know?
That's what I'm saying. I
And
want to.
their whole MO would be to, like, preserve themselves, which means, like, not fucking with humans as much as possible. Right? And then there's this rebellious one that's, like, you know, his act of rebellion is being more visible.
Right, but what if I want to help them preserve their species by bringing them into mine?
Classic.
What?
We were just talking
I'm gonna
about
bring
this.
them my freedom,
You
and
know,
my peace, and my justice.
Whenever somewhere gets conquered or colonized, it's not like a total annihilation of the other culture. It's a lot
And
of
the
them are mixing.
justification is always something good. we're bringing them our peace. We're bringing them our democracy. We're bringing them our way of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, that in and of itself is pretty violent.
Are we though?
No, that never gets really accomplished.
You are, but
it
is
does in
your way of
small
life
ways.
applicable to somebody else?
One of the funniest things to me in the whole thing in like colonized countries and stuff, like when I was in Senegal, one of the funniest things about all of that to me was like, they have stoplights, very European style stoplights, and nobody gives a fuck about them.
Yeah.
Like no one follows any of that shit. Like does not matter in the slightest, It's just so funny that they're even there because nobody uses them.
Well, it's kind of funny too if you like go places in Central America, like people don't use street signs unless it's a city that tourists go to. Then there are street signs. Like it's super funny. Like that's all over the place. Like even in like Mexico, if you go to like rural Mexico or like smaller towns like not Cancun, Tijuana and stuff, you go to places that people don't go.
I'm talking about Dakar, which is like a city in Senegal, and still
that's amazing.
No fucks given, 0 fucks about street. And I wanted to drive there the whole time I was there because I thought it would be chaotic and awesome, And I never got the chance to do it.
Eerily?
Yeah, no, and it somehow works perfectly.
Yeah.
There's there's no. I never even saw a car wreck. Which you see a car wreck here like every fucking day, right?
Well, it's because we use our horn in our cars when we're aggravated. We don't use it to be like, get the fuck out of the way.
There's a whole other language in Senegal of horns, and it's constant. I love it.
I think that's honestly like a huge part of the culture shock coming back from a third world country, especially to the United States, is it's like, wow, we are really disrespectful and shitty to each other. Like this thing that I've seen somebody use to like be like, hey, get out of my way, I'm trying to save your life. Here we use it like, hey, get out of my way, you fucking suck. You're in my fucking way. It's like,
hey, I'm driving here.
I'm driving over here. Yeah. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, people are super shitty to one another here. That's very true.
And it's like, why, man?
Well,
we don't got real problems, guys.
I mean, that's just how we were brought up in our society. It's like very individualistic, and everyone is like every man for himself. You gotta pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps and do it yourself. Like we're raised to be like fiercely independent, not like have solidarity.
Independently fierce. Be independently fierce, not fiercely independent. Ooh.
That's going on Facebook later, right, Jeeves?
No.
I'm
done posting things.
I like to tease him about his Facebook presence.
Every time I post facts, somebody gets mad at me, and it's because they think I'm making an argument with the facts.
Just like, even
here's
when you're
the data for
to people think that. So of course people are going to think that on Facebook, where there's no context.
Yeah.
Even when there is context and you're talking to someone face to face, people still think that you're arguing with them, Jeeb.
Yeah.
It's something you're gonna probably constantly have to deal with. Because whenever you get like passionate about something, your tone of voice gets mildly aggressive, which I know I'm fully aware it doesn't mean to be.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I get all in it. I get all tizzied.
You do. You get hella tizzied.
It's because there's like literally no barrier or filter between my brain and my feelings. None at all. It's weird.
Yeah, that was a weird sentence, Jeeb.
Yeah.
I think that we can all say that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like really don't have that filter at all.
I have had to train myself in a lot of emotional control because I am a really emotional person.
Yeah. See, and I'm...
And an empathic person, too. So I both have to control my own feelings because I understand it affects other people, and I have to be aware that not all people are capable of controlling their own feelings, and I need to bury myself against them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feelings, man, it's huge
For me, it's
part
just
of my
I
life.
pretend I don't have them, and it turns out I actually do,
That's so unhealthy, man. You can't pretend you don't have feelings.
It's also like such a frickin' patriarchy male trope, you know? Makes me feel like a walking cliche. But whatever.
I think we're all walking cliches, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Pick your cliche.
Pick your cliche. East Coast or West Coast?
Yeah. Which robot are you? Honestly, I think there's also a Colorado amalgam.
Well, yeah, we're like
Because
very,
it's like we get everybody.
Like Midwesty.
Dear fellow Americans, we've seen all of you. At
That's why Colorado's so cool. I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to Colorado, is that like there are a lot of aspects from both the coasts, and they kind of come together and like make this cool middle thing here.
Yeah. I just wish we had a little bit more of that Midwesty thing. There's definitely much more of like a surge of Cali. You know what I mean? Like modern Denver feels
Cali
like
is huge.
late 80s LA though.
That kind of sucks. I mean,
And it's kind of felt that way since
that probably doesn't suck
2013.
to a lot. That obviously doesn't suck to a lot of people. People
They're like, yas.
love that shit, right?
We're gonna have guacamole everywhere. We're gonna bathe in almond milk and guacamole.
Avocado toast.
Hey, that is cropping up everywhere, to be honest.
I don't understand. I really don't understand why you can sell it as at a restaurant. Like,
Not make it at home.
yeah, well, it's fucking easy as shit to make
Yeah.
yourself.
It's like you can literally make it by getting an avocado instead of butter.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all it is. And yes, it's fucking delicious. Fatty toast. We all love it.
Yo, can I get some of that fatty toast?
Let me get some of that fatty toast, bro. Hey Nick, do you know of anything going on this week?
I do actually.
Let's hear about it.
Coming up on the 27th, I do believe that's Friday. The gods are coming back from the temple on high.
So
Guess what's coming back, everybody? Who remembers Show Your Teeth, put on by the BAG?
Ow,
Well,
ow.
it's coming back this Friday. You can catch it at the Voodoo. I don't remember if it's at 7 or later, but I'm pretty sure doors at 7. And it's improv comedy with people who I consider probably among the like brightest and most creative minds in Denver. I love my guild fam. And yeah, seriously, come show your teeth. It'll be really funny. It'll be really good.
it's always amazing. And
It's been
hilarious
a
and-
long time. So
You
there
know-
might be like a torrent of energy there too.
In this day and age, you always need more shit to laugh about. So
Yeah.
get some emotional healing on and go to Show Your Teeth.
Then my other little plug is Cabal has open hours Tuesday through Saturday, or maybe it's just Friday. Yeah, I think it's just Friday because the shows are second Saturdays. From 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you can stop by Cabal if you missed Creepshow. You can check out all the art. There's great art you can buy any day of the week anyway, regardless of show. I would honestly advise getting Mars coloring book. It's amazing. It's for 26-year-olds and older. It says it on the package.
26.
It's a pretty awesome coloring book. That's all you need to know. And yeah, Samson, do you have any plugs for the week?
You know, I don't. I was thinking there's one thing I'm trying to go to this weekend, kind of a Circus Collective variety show kind of thing.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, organized in part by my friend Pixie, but it's actually Olivia Blue played the one last month.
Oh,
Cool.
awesome. She's dope.
Yeah, so
She's super dope.
but I don't know the specifics, so I'm a bad person.
Right?
It's okay. Look it up. That's the way of the internet, right?
Give it a Google.
Give it.
No, my brother, 'cause,
Google.
I don't know, I'm on like a shared data plan with my my little brother and my mom, and we run out of data instantly because he's a
He's a
14-year-old in the
14-year-old.
year 2017. So he's like constantly streaming stuff. And I was like, why don't you just use the internet at your school? And he was like, oh, because they block everything. I'm like, you can use a proxy. And he's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, dude, give it a Google.
Well, on that note, I think that our time is up.
Oh, snap. Yeah. This has been the DoodleCast. Thanks to Samson again for coming in, also for doing tech. Oh my God. And it's great that we get to have our own art tech and you guys get to meet him. Shout out to Rich, who's running sound. Shout out to Fu, who's actually covering Samson in a couple ways. Fu's killing it.
I feel covered.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful week, friends.
And yeah,
Much love.
this has been the DoodleCast.